You probably have heard the phrase, practice makes perfect. It takes a lot of time and energy to get good at something. And I remember when I first picked up the guitar, it would take me weeks to learn a new song. I would sit down the first day and wouldn't be able to get any of the notes right. But if I took time each day to practice, by the end of the week I could, make my way through the song with only a few minor hiccups. This applies to our relationships as well. If you want to get to know someone, it takes time to build up a relationship with them. We need to work at it. Yesterday, we looked at who Jesus is and how God saw him. Next, Paul talks about how this affects the believer. Philippians 2:12-18 describes how Christians react to the good news of Jesus' death and resurrection. Go ahead and pause the video here and read those verses. There's a link to it in the video description below, so go ahead and pause and read Philippians 2:12-18. How would you sum up the Christian's life? Yes, Christians are those who believe in Jesus, but what does that look like in the way that we live? What does it mean to live like a Christian? A few days ago, we talked about the rules and religiosity that is often attributed to people of faith. Again, we're not talking about how we are saved, but rather how salvation affects what we think, say, and do. Anyone from any background, with any type of identity, can come to Jesus and believe. And this is how we are saved. But it's not a one-time choice. It's the start of a new relationship that will grow. Philippians 2:5-11 describes how God starts this relationship. And then Paul writes in verse 12, "So then, my beloved, just as you have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your salvation with fear and trembling." So what does it look like to work out our salvation? Well, Paul gives some really practical ways by starting with a call to unity. He starts with a negative, don't moan and whinge about stuff and don't get into arguments about every little thing. He then states the positive. Believers are children of God, made blameless and innocent. The Christian life is one of integrity, and it's a public life. These characteristics are to be seen by the world. And verse 15 tells us that we are in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you appear as lights in the world. The danger is to say, shape up or ship out, get to work looking like this. We need to remember verse 13. Paul gives us the reason for working out our salvation. For it is God who is at work in you, both to will and to work for his good pleasure. This highlights again how these things are a result of our relationship with God. This is at the heart of the letter to the Philippians. So as we hear this call to unity, to peace on earth and goodwill towards men, let's ask ourselves, how am I living out my salvation? What does it look like for my belief to affect my actions? Where is God calling me to will and to work for his good pleasure?